This is real life. Welcome back, everyone. From Dinosaur Ridge in Colorado to Ghost Ranch in New Mexico, we're going fossil hunting in some of the most exciting places on Earth. Okay, so let's start off with Dinosaur Ridge. So Dinosaur Ridge is located between Golden and Morrison, Colorado, about 20 minutes outside of Denver. And it's kind of funny because just north of Dinosaur Ridge, there's an area called Dinosaur 100, which is where they found Stegosaurus and Allosaurus. Dinosaur Ridge itself is not actually a ridge, but rather two large mesas, or flat-topped hills, that are parallel to each other, separated by a shallow valley. They're basically like little flat islands surrounded by all this red rock that's pretty much everywhere else. And these mesas are very popular with locals and tourists alike. There are hiking trails right up to the top of both mesas where you can enjoy views of the Front Range of the Rocky Mountains, including Denver and Boulder to the north and the town of Golden to the south. But even better than the view, there are fossils everywhere. Like literally everywhere. And unlike many other areas where you have to look at rocks and maybe see something if you squint, here fossils are often right out in the open. You can see them in the cliffs and the slopes, and sometimes you can even see them from the road. Dinosaur Ridge contains the largest exposure of Jurassic-age rock anywhere in North America, and it was declared a National Natural Landmark in 1968. So it's protected against development and mining, and best of all, it's free for everyone to explore. But remember, when you visit, please do not take any fossils. It is illegal. And it is immoral. Just look, but don't touch. In recent years, Dinosaur Ridge has also embraced technology to enhance the visitor experience. There's a new app called the Ridge Trail Guide. It's available for Android and iOS, and you can download it before your trip. Then, once you're there, you can walk along the Ridge Trail and learn all about the area using augmented reality. For example, there are several interactive exhibits along the trail, including one where you can virtually dig up fossils using a handheld device. Dinosaur Ridge also has a small museum and gift shop, but otherwise there are no public restrooms, so make sure you go to one of those before you arrive. Also, there isn't really cell service up there, although my wife took this picture of me on her brand new satellite phone. She got it because she thought it would be useful for emergencies when we hike in the mountains. But then she started noticing that she could get reception up at Dinosaur Ridge where she couldn't before. And now she spends half her time on FaceTime calls with people who don't even have satellite phones. Now, I've been to Dinosaur Ridge several times. In fact, it's probably one of my favorite hikes, and I've seen tons of fossils there. Like in this photo, there's so many fossils that I made a video about it. But I think that's the first time I've ever seen a Basilosaurus, which is a 40-foot ancient whale monster. I mean, just look at the size of those teeth. But I think what I'm most excited about is finding a dino poop. Because if you find a dino poop, then you might also find Dino's stomach contents. And if you find Dino's stomach contents, then you might find the preserved remains of the animal's last meal. So if you find a dino poop, then you know what that animal ate for its last meal. And we want to know what dinosaurs ate for their last meal. If we can figure that out, then we can learn more about their behavior and their habitat and all sorts of things. So there's this Facebook group called Dinosaur Ridge Explorers, and there's a post from a few years ago where someone found this weird brown thing on the ridge and asked if anyone knew what it was, and a bunch of people said, "Hey, that looks like coprolite," which is the scientific name for dino poop. So a few days later, the same person posts this picture with a caption saying, "Could this be the world's oldest Rubik's Cube?" Because obviously it is. That's definitely a Rubik's Cube. Okay, so after staring at this for way too long trying to figure out how it works, I finally found the answer. The person who posted this is a guy named Eric Storm, and he makes documentaries about the history of toys. So it wasn't a real Rubik's Cube. He just put that as a joke. But the object is actually a children's toy from the 1970s that was designed to improve hand-eye coordination. My older brother had one of these when he was a kid, and he never let me play with it. So if you want to pick one of these up for yourself or for a loved one, they're still being manufactured today under the brand name IQ Builder. But if you ask Amazon, they'll tell you it's an authentic vintage 1970s toy. And if you ask me, well, I'll tell you it's a mystery. Next up, we're heading to Ghost Ranch in New Mexico. Now, Ghost Ranch is a beautiful high desert valley with red rock cliffs and lots of hiking trails. It's part of a 35,000-acre plot of land owned by the University of New Mexico, and it's used primarily as a retreat center, although occasionally they'll allow amateur paleontologists to come out and search for fossils. According to the official website, the ranch takes its name from the ghost of a former owner, a man named John Gaw Meyer, who died in a freak hot air balloon accident in 1939. But there's also a legend that says the name comes from the ghosts of Native Americans who died in battle with the Spanish conquistadors. Either way, Ghost Ranch is steeped in history and culture and tradition. It was inhabited by indigenous people for at least 10,000 years before the Spanish arrived. And then later it became a popular destination for artists like Georgia O'Keeffe and Mabel Dodge Luhan. Today, thousands of people visit Ghost Ranch every year to enjoy the scenery or participate in one of the many educational programs. But perhaps the most famous thing about Ghost Ranch is the fossils. It is one of the richest fossil sites in the world and has yielded some of the most important discoveries in our understanding of prehistoric life. For example, in 1908, a paleontologist named Sloboda Popta discovered a massive skull and jawbone that turned out to be the oldest known relative of modern horses. And in 1932, another paleontologist found a relative of Ankylosaurus called Boreopelta mark-micheli, also known as the hellfish. But the most famous discovery at Ghost Ranch was made in 1937 when a local rancher stumbled upon a petrified palm wood. This led to the establishment of the Ghost Ranch National Monument, which protects more than 200 square miles of public lands that contain some of the best exposures of late Triassic rocks in the world. Okay, so those were just two of the greatest fossil hunting locations on Earth. But if you want to learn about more of them, then you should check out this video right here. See you next time.